Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Hands On channel. Today I want to talk to you about something that occupies my mind a lot of the times in my free time. I don't spend every hour of every day thinking about this stuff, but it does occupy a big portion of my mind as I'm falling asleep at night and I'm thinking about, the future of America and the future of freedom and liberty and stuff. Our enemy has many different names, whether that be the Great Reset, Build Back Better, Barack Obama, Joe Biden, George Soros, Klaus Schwab, on and on and on. So many different names, so many different heads to this hydra that is the New World Order. And as I'm falling asleep at night, or as I have a moment, maybe when I'm riding around on my riding lawnmower or my tractor, that gives me a great amount of time to think about how we can combat, and not only combat, fight back against, but defeat the New World Order. That's what we have to do as freedom and liberty loving people who value, self-governance and individuality over everything else that's being pushed down our throats, that we have to fight back against this. So I wanted to talk to you today about what I think the formula is to defeat the New World Order. That's what we have to do. We have to beat them into submission to the point where they'll never try this bull crap again on anybody, because everywhere it's tried, it fails. Whether that be the farms shutting down over in Europe and being forced to close because of supposed Green New Deal that's going on all around the world, and how humans are bad for the environment and all this, and population control, and all of these other globalist agendas that are being implemented right now. It's not even that they're being talked about. Many of these things are being implemented around the world, especially in third world countries. Just look at the vaccine stuff that's gone on down in Africa, and I can't say much about that or I'll be banned on Google's mouthpiece here, YouTube. I can't say certain things. I can't talk about how RFK was just coming out last week questioning the intention, or he basically said that COVID-19 was a bioweapon and it was targeted at certain ethnic groups. And of course, the left media is going nuts over that right now. They're trying to disown him, discredit him. But he said a lot of things from the side of the Democrats that no one else is saying. So I would never vote for RFK Jr., but I'm glad he's out there and talking about these important things that no one, even on the Republican side, has had that much audacity to come out and say that it's a bioweapon, that it is a bioweapon targeted at a certain couple of certain different ethnic groups. Blacks and whites basically is it. People of European descent and of African descent. So, I think that's kind of a big deal. And if we had, legitimate news outlets and a free press, a news media that was out there looking out for the interests of the American people, this would all be common knowledge. Everyone would know this, but we don't know it. So the first thing we have to do as patriots, if we want to fight against the New World Order and win, we have to disseminate this information. I've made dozens of videos trying to combat the New World Order from different angles. I did one called the 45 Communist Goals for America. Not many people watched that video. It was a two-part series because it was long, and that kind of content, I get it. It's boring. It's dry. It's not exciting. It's not, sensational. If you read the thing though yourself, or you watch the video, you'll see it is all of those things. It's all happening right now, but most people are just too blind by everything that's going on. The bread and circus that is the modern westernized culture is too blinded by comfort and, not wanting to get out of their comfort zone, and cognitive dissonance and all these other things that are going on and going through the minds of these younger generations especially. But a lot of people, even in the older generations, support this communism that's being infiltrated in our country. We've talked about the Great Reset, Klaus Schwab's plan to basically use COVID-19 as an opportunity, he said. So, when you get people coming out and saying they're going to use this sort of stuff, a terrible tragedy, as an opportunity, it automatically makes you suspicious if you're a critical thinker, if you're a person that's skeptical about everything that comes out of the mouths of the mainstream media. And that is me. I'm a skeptic to the core. I don't believe anything. If you asked me, do I trust X, Y, or Z, I would say no, because I don't trust anyone except for people in my immediate circle of friends and family. That's it. If it's outside of that, I take everything with a grain of salt, because you never know what truth is versus what someone's, fabricated version of truth is. Oftentimes, they'll tell you little bits of truth in their reporting, but they don't tell you the whole truth. And that's just as bad. They're omitting information, so you won't have the whole story. So that's what we have to do as patriots. If we want to fight and defeat the New World Order, we have to inform people about Build Back Better, the Great Reset, COVID-19 policies, and all that crap that we all saw around the world with the lockdowns and all their, the WHO, one of the worst organizations that the United States could be involved with. Short of the UN and their 17 goals for sustainable development. You should know about all these things. And if you don't know about them, it's okay. I'm not coming out here and throwing shade on you because you don't know all of these things. Go out and learn about these things. That's what I'm trying to tell you. It's all written down there. They have laid out their plans. There's some sort of a demonic evil code that these guys have to live by, that before they can come in and depopulate an area, or before they can come in and lock you down and deprive you of your liberty, they have to tell you first. And you have to do it voluntarily. So after you disseminate this information and you tell everyone you know about the New World Order and let them absorb it and take it in as they will. Show them the proof. Show them in their own writing. Send them to websites of the UN and stuff and show them how they want to have these 15-minute cities and these smart cities, and you're not going to be allowed to eat meat. You're not going to be allowed to drive a gas-powered car. You're not going to be able to do a lot of the things that you do now. Your freedom to travel will be restricted. You won't be able to go anywhere without permission from daddy government or whoever's in charge. That's not freedom and liberty. So inform these people. Try to inform them. I get it. Sometimes when you're talking to these younger people, especially, it's like talking to a fence post. They're not absorbing any of this stuff. They don't care about any of this stuff. And I'll back up just for a minute. Back when I was 17 to probably, I don't know, about 20. From about 17, I'm going to go back a little further. From about, when I was a child till I was about 20 years old. I didn't care about a lot of this political stuff. I didn't care or know anything about the New World Order or any of that kind of stuff. So that's totally normal to not be super informed when you're really young. But once you start becoming your own man or woman and you're out there raising a family and starting a family and stuff, that's when this rush of information should naturally come into your life. And you should start looking at these things because you want to make sure that your kid and your family is going to have a safe, good, prosperous future where you'll be able to thrive. You won't be forced to survive. You'll be thriving. That's the whole point of everything that I do, or that's what I try to make the point of all of my videos that I do, is to try to inform people and or instruct them on how to be more self-reliant, how to be an independent, individual-minded, freedom, liberty-based person. That's what I'm all about here. So anyway, after you've informed all these people, next is time to start showing them the way. You have to show them what to do. Nobody is born with a, instruction manual. We don't know how to do all this stuff. So you have to show people, look, you need to stock up on food. You need to be prepared for daddy government to fail you at some point or another. They're going to promise you the moon and the stars, but they're not going to be able to deliver when you need it most, when you're hungry or when your power's out or whatever it may be. The government cannot save you. Be self-reliant. That's number 2. Try to teach people to be more self-reliant, more, prepper-minded, if nothing else. If they don't have a big enough piece of land to become self-reliant, that's okay. None of us start out with a huge piece of land. It took me and my wife all of our working years to be able to buy our 100 acres over there, and we're super proud of being able to have that, and we're blessed to be able to get to a point in our lives where we could do this sort of thing and become more self-reliant. But you can do that in a suburb backyard. You could do it in a city-sized backyard, growing some of your own vegetables and and foods and things, having rabbits, having quail, having other things that maybe even chickens, depending on your ordinances in your neighborhood. Those are all things you need to be not only doing yourself, but you need to be telling other people about this stuff. Because here's the reality, guys. I know my videos are being shadow banned, and I know also that's an indication that I'm effective. I'm doing something that's making the New World Order ban my channel to a degree. They haven't completely banned me. They've tried a couple of times. They haven't completely erased me from the internet, but they've tried. But my point is, in bringing that up, if I only reach a couple of hundred people, maybe 500 or 700 or 1,000 people watch this video. If 100 of those people go out and do these things, it could, it could cascade. It could become a movement if we're inspired to inspire others. So when I talk to you guys, I'm not just talking to you and we're bouncing the same ideas. I'm not preaching to the choir here. I'm trying to convince you to go out and make a difference. Go out and talk to those people that in the past you might not have talked to because you're worried they're going to see you as a kook or a, right-wing extremist or whatever. So anyway, moving on. Next, other things that you can do that are so simple and so underutilized in this country right now and in the world. How do you stop the New World Order? Like I said a little while ago, they have to tell you what they're doing. Now, they don't always tell you in black and white and in plain English. They'll oftentimes use words like, diversity and inclusion and equity and, all these other things that they'll use. Sustainability is another big one. So you got to learn how to understand the words they're using, understand their vocabulary. When they say sustainability, they mean removing property rights from everyone on the face of the earth and government consuming control or taking control of that right. And I'm not for that. So, automatically I'm going to stand up against that sort of stuff because I'm pro property rights. It's one of the most important, if not the most important thing about being an American under our founding principles. So I think it's a pretty damn big deal. You probably ought to pay attention to that sort of stuff. When you hear globalists and New World Order folks around the world talking about how they're going to take away your rights to do X, Y, or Z, you don't get those back if they get, if they get taken away. So all that being said, it's very simple. The number one thing you can do to fight the New World Order is use the word no. Be firm in your conviction. When someone tells you you have to mask up or they tell you you have to take a mandatory jab, you say no. Not only no, hell no. You have no right over my body. You have no right to tell me what I can do. My body, my choice, right? What they used to say, I think they still say it, but they didn't like it when people said it related to the COVID jab or the masks or any of that sort of stuff. But we have to use their language against them. So we have to know their language. We have to know one of the most important underutilized words in the English language. It's no. I know that sounds very simple, but all you have to do is say no. Just say no. Just say no to the New World Order. That's what we have to do. And they won't be able to pull their stuff off because, again, all of this crap that they're doing, they have to have your consent to do it. So let's take the example of cell phones. They started out back in the day, they were flip phone. Well, I guess we go way back in the day, they were car phones, these big old devices that was bigger than a brick. And you had, I don't know if you guys are old enough, but the older people know what I'm talking about. And they were attached to your car and they were really expensive in the beginning, of course. And I think back in those days, there was probably very little tracking or anything like that going on. They did have the government program that was an offshore program. That's how they were getting away with it. The CIA or the NSA was running it. It was called Echelon. And if you said certain key words, they would start recording your phone conversations to utilize that against you later on if they needed to build a case against you or something like that. So, it's bad. It's been going on for a long time. But then, you fast forward, then we got flip phones and we started getting to the ability where we could have video and different things like that. Text messaging came along, all this stuff, right? And then the smartphone came out in what was that? 2007 or something? It hasn't been around as long as you might think. But the smartphone came out, the Apple iPhone or whatever, the first iteration of that. And from that day forward, they have been tracking us 6 ways to Sunday. And what do you do about that? Well, most people feel as if they have to have a smartphone, but you really don't. You could go out and get a flip phone if you needed to have a phone for, making emergency contacts with someone, or you could go back to a landline. And I know that sounds very inconvenient, and maybe even to some people might send a shiver of fear down your neck there. You might be thinking, oh man, what if I broke down out there on the road and I needed to call somebody to come get me? Well, back in the old days before we had cell phones, people broke down in cars, and guess what they did? They either walked to a payphone, which you don't see payphones anywhere anymore at all. So I don't know what you would do in this case. You might have to go ask somebody to borrow their cell phone or whatever. But if you were a mechanically minded person, you would just fix your car right there on the side of the road and drive it home. That's what a lot of people used to do. That's the kind of stuff that I do. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to do a full transmission rebuild on the side of the interstate or something, but if it's something minor, which normally it is, like a belt or a hose or a, clogged fuel filter or whatever, low transmission fluid, those different kinds of things, you should be able to fix those things yourself. All of those things are allowing you to be more self-reliant, less dependent on other people like, AAA or the tow truck company or whatever, or your buddy even. You shouldn't bother your buddy if all you need to do is add a little transmission fluid to your transmission. You should know how to do that. But it's astounding how few people know how to do anything under the hood of a car anymore. And I'm arguing that that's been done by design. They've made these vehicles less and less user-friendly for people to DIYers to work on them themselves. So you're kind of forced into this matrix, into this system where you have to depend on other people because you don't know what in the hell you're looking at anymore. I mentioned a couple of videos ago, my wife has a 2010 Lexus, and now that's not all that new, but it's the newest vehicle in my fleet. That said, anytime I do any work under the hood on that vehicle, I have to take all these little plastic clip things out, and half of them break because they're getting old and brittle now. And then you have to take all this plastic covering garbage off the top of the engine. Now, maybe that helps reduce the sound a little bit or the heat or something. I don't know exactly what the purpose of that is, but I've noticed every engine manufacturer there is, whether that's a Chevrolet or a Lexus or a Mercedes-Benz or whatever, they're covering up more and more and more of the engine compartment. Another thing about that Lexus, it has no transmission dipstick. It's got lifetime, they say, transmission fluid in it. And then later on, the service people came out and said, well, yeah, it's supposed to be lifetime, but if you keep it like over 100,000 miles, then you need to bring it in and have the dealer change it out. We'll know how to do it and blah, blah, blah. But see, that's another thing that because of the way they've designed that closed system, most people are incapable of changing their transmission fluid on something like that themselves. And in fact, I've never done it because I don't know how to do it, and I've never seen a video or anyone else show the instructions on how to do that, so I have no idea. Most of my mechanical experience is in vehicles from the 90s back, V8, rear-wheel drive, automatic transmissions or manual transmissions, whatever. But that's why I drive and I keep and I maintain my fleet of Chevy trucks where I've got, everything I've got that I drive is 96 or older. And it's because of what I just said. So it gives me, yeah, it's not the newest. It's not the fanciest. It doesn't have the digital dash. And, it doesn't wipe my butt or heat my butt for me or anything like that. When it's wintertime and you get in on those vinyl seats, your butt's going to get cold. And, but because it's simpler and it's easier and because it has less luxury in it. It has an old style bench seat, both of my trucks, and I love bench seats. I hate these new bolstered seats that they're trying to put in all the trucks where it's like a sports car or something. They're trying to turn the interior of every new truck into a sports car with these bolstered seats, and it's just stupid. It's stupid. Dumb all over. So anyway, back to how we defeat the New World Order. We do more and more things ourselves. We grow more and more of our own food in our own backyards and things like that. We've got rabbits, quail. We just actually last night for the first time I harvested 5 quail. I haven't eaten them yet, but the cleaning process was really simple. Within, it probably took us 45 minutes to do 5 quail and have them ready to put in the fridge. But the thing is, that was my first time. So I'm sure that as I go, I'll probably be able to do like 5 quail in 20, 30 minutes. It's not that big of a deal. And instead of going out and working for someone else and then going to the store and buying something that's pumped full of all kinds of hormones and antibiotics, and you heard about the one where they're pumping our food full of the basically the mRNA vaccine. I mean, that scares the crap out of me. I don't want that crap in my body at all. Not even through an animal or broccoli or whatever I'm eating that I bought from the store. So the best way to make sure that doesn't happen to you is grow your own or buy locally from farmers that you know and trust. People that are using as many organic methods as they possibly can without loading them up with chemicals and without buying a bunch of Monsanto BS that's not even real food anymore. We talked about it a couple of videos ago. Authenticity, or a severe lack of authenticity, is permeating our society. Everything, everywhere you look, it's not the same anymore. You look at these old names that have been around forever, and you know, I can't think of anything really right off the top of my head, but like Craftsman Tool, okay? Craftsman Tool. They were around forever, made in USA, lifetime warranty. Well, Sears closed down all their brick and mortar stores. They sold their Craftsman Tool line to Lowe's and Home Depot, or whoever else is selling them now, Ace Hardware, whoever else is selling them. And now I've noticed the wrenches, the sockets, all this stuff that's from Craftsman Tool is made in China. Made in China. It's no longer the same quality that it was before. It's been outsourced to the lowest bidder, to the lowest labor source. So in that regard, I've told you guys before, if you've got a chance to do it, go to yard sales, go to pawn shops, whatever, buy old Craftsman tools or old Snap-on tools, whatever you can get your hands on, and you'll have yourself a good set of wrenches and tools and things like that, better than you can go buy brand new right now. And of course, with Craftsman, it's lifetime warranty. So if you do break one, yeah, they're going to give you a Chinese one, but at least you'll get a replacement wrench or a socket or whatever it may be. But yeah, they've destroyed all of these manufacturing names, and you know, people will get brand loyal. You know, for years, this happened to me just not too long ago. We had a water heater go out again after like 7 years, and I'm like, man, it's like clockwork. My water heaters go out here like every 7 years. Well, this last one was a Kenmore, and we always bought Kenmore in the past. We bought a Kenmore oven, range oven for our home, and we thought, you know, Kenmore's a good name. That's going to last a long time, and because we've had good luck with them in the past. But though you can't rely on that anymore because everything has been outsourced. This Kenmore range we bought is garbage. One of the burner knobs, it's electric range. One of the burner knobs quit working. Now it just goes nuclear red. So anytime you turn it on even low, it'll just take off and start going nuclear red, and it burns your food or whatever. And then the top of it's so flimsy because the metal they're using is so thin that when you set a pan down on it, the whole thing goes ka-tung, ka-tung, ka-tung. And we had to actually put like tuna fish cans underneath the thing to give it support. That's complete BS. If they're going to lighten something up like that, they ought to, you know, put some braces in there or something so that it gives it its own support, and you don't have to stick tuna fish cans in there. It's just unreal, man. Unreal, the authenticity or the lack of authenticity or quality in our country now. And I talked about it. I don't want to go all rehash that whole thing. Go watch the video. I talked about how people are unauthentic now, and you know, they're just, everything is fake in this world. So recognizing good, you know, quality products that are true and authentic is something that you're going to need to do to fight the New World Order, believe it or not. You know, just not standing for this garbage. Anything, the best thing I said in this whole video was saying no. That's the most important thing you need to take away from this video. Go out and inform other people about the New World Order and all of their plans to take over humanity, because that's what they're wanting to do. Control population, control all resources, basically control the means of production, just like the communists did. They are New Age communists, and that's what we have to fight against, guys. So I don't want to go on and on about this. I hope you guys have taken something away from my channel. That's the whole reason I made this channel, was to basically fight the New World Order. After the COVID came out, when I first started the channel, it was just to do how-tos and DIYs and stuff like that, because I enjoy doing that sort of stuff, and I also enjoy learning things from watching other people do stuff on YouTube. But then the COVID hit, and I was like, nah, I gotta fight. I had a calling. I had to fight the New World Order. I wouldn't be able to sleep at night if I weren't trying to fight back against this tyranny, because that's what this is. And the way I believe, there's only one way to deal with tyrants. Only one way. And that is eradicate them from the face of the earth. And I'm willing to say what my agenda is. Get rid of all tyrants. Anybody that wants to destroy your liberty or your freedom or your ability to live a good, healthy life with your family, or destroy your family, I mean, that really ought to be one of the most telling things about the New World Order. They are anti-family. I mean, that's a big deal. Most people, when they learn that, they're like, whoa, wait a second. I didn't know you guys were going this far, like BLM did on their website. If you remember, they've scrubbed that since then, but they had a section in there that was basically professing they were anti-family, and families are racist. Unfreaking believable. And that's one of the words they use, racism or racist. Racist, misogynist, homophobe, whatever. Those are the words they use to shut down conversation. Do not allow them to do that. So, guys, I appreciate you tuning in. I'm glad that we're in this together and I'm not on my own. I know a lot of you guys feel exactly the same way I do. We have to fight and we have to win against the New World Order, or otherwise we're all going to be slaves. If we are allowed to continue living. These people are, they're psychopaths. Don't kid yourself. Klaus Schwab is a supervillain. Joe Biden is a supervillain. As bad as it comes. The worst kind. The worst kind. Because he's, Joe Biden in particular is pretending to be, sweet old, doddering old grandpa. When in reality, every chance he gets, he does something perverted. Goes up and sniffs a baby or nibbles on its neck or whatever. And I'm like, man, who are these parents that are allowing this to happen? They're slaves of the New World Order. And what a lot of these commies and Democrats don't realize is if they're successful and the New World Order wins, the Democrats and the communists will be some of the first to be taken out to the wall, to the firing squad, and taken care of, put down, or lynched, or whatever they're going to do with them. They'll be killed because the New World Order is smart enough to realize that they're traitors. And the first thing you do when you take power is you get rid of the traitors. It's happened time and time again. 150 million, 200 million people have been killed by communism in the 20th century. And we need to make sure as patriotic, freedom-loving, liberty-loving Americans that we don't allow them to kill one more person. We've learned our lesson. It doesn't work. No matter how many different ways they try it, it never works. They're trying it right now in the United States of America. What are you going to do? Anyway, guys, appreciate you tuning in. As always, I stand for liberty. I hope you do too.